Ooby-doo, it's everyone's favorite boomer and vintage lens enthusiast. Today we're looking at the Super TAKUMAR 1 to 1.4 50mm SI optical company lens made in Japan. All metal construction, no rubber on it, still works really good. I got an adapter for the Nikon Z 50. I shot this lens on this camera, but the reason I don't have this lens on this camera is because of this reason. Yeah, look at that bad boy. Let's see how high it'll go. Gotta wait for it to do something. Let's see, 789. Yeah. Well, you get the idea, it's radioactive. Let's see how high it will go. Those are some pretty heavy-duty clicks, huh? Let's go 817. Last time I checked, it went up to 2,000 something. So I just want to let it see how far it's going to go. Dangerous radioactive background. Suffice it to say, that's super radioactive. So, I use this camera body a lot. I don't want to destroy the chip with this radiation. It may, who knows, maybe it's radiation resistant, but I don't want to find out. So, what I did is I had this on this camera with a lens hood, and I went to a town, GLEN as opposed to Morristown. GLEN had a main street with stores on either side. It's a wide boulevard, so if you stand on one side of the street, it has to be at least 50 feet to the other side storefronts. So I was shooting across the street a lot. It was Christmas time, and they had some Christmas lights up. Not as many as I thought they would, you know. I went there very early in the morning, like at 6 o'clock. It was still dark. Maybe a lot of people had their lights shut off on a timer or something. But I wanted to use this lens wide open at f1.4 at 1250 ISO, and I wanted to see what sort of results I would get. I noticed in order for me to have the lights properly exposed, I had to do an EV of minus 1.67. And of course that made the darks darker, and there wasn't much latitude left. And so when I boosted the darks, you'll see a lot of noise and blotchiness. But the thing is, if I exposed more for the shadows, then all the highlights would have been blown out. So I had to compromise a little bit. This lens was really weird in as much as it would have some blooming on some lights, and then some lights would be pinpoint. And of course, it's the old story with all these f1.4s. If you focus on these lights and make them pinpoints, then whatever extended object is right next to it looks blurry. And conversely, if you focus so the extended objects like a sign or branches are nice and sharp, then the pinpoint lights are blooming and aberrated and all sorts of other good stuff. This is a little bit of a flare beast, even with using a lens hood. There is a certain angle where I would get some flare, which would be like an arc or some weird orb. I would say it was somewhat better than the Canon lenses, but it still has some flare with a lens hood. So I wanted to imagine what it would be like without a lens hood. So I previously went into the park and shot at f8 during the day, and it's a really fine performer, super sharp, lots of detail. There's a lot of good things to say about it. f1.4, well, as I always say, f1.4 is a challenge to anyone who's a photographer and wants to use an f1.4 lens, a 50mm specifically. It's a challenge. It's a super challenge. I mean, the depth of field is so shallow that, you know, and this is the thing, it didn't seem consistent. Like if I shot down the street and they have wrapped some lights around poles or trees, some of the trees look sharp, the point lights, and some look blooming. But it was like, it wasn't like it was better here and got worse. It was like good here, bad there, good there. and you'll see that in the following slideshow. Of course, when I was pointing it across the street at the storefronts across the street, they came up pretty good. I shot mostly at f1.4, but I did shoot some at f2 and f2.8, and you can see that that made a marked improvement in the definition of the subject matter. And I guess that's just the nature of the beast. So if you go from 1.4 to 2.8, it's 2 stops down. But if you hit an f2 lens and you stopped at f2.8, that's only 1 stop. So we have to go to f4 to get the same sort of like sharpening up. You know, 2 stops down is like supposed to be your best. So let's look at it's GLEN rock. They're famous for the rock. I took some pictures of the rock. They have 2 train stations. One's at the sort of northeast end, the other's at the southwest end of this main street. I think it's called Rock Road, if I'm not mistaken. Their main street is called Rock Road. I'm just keeping this on as a dust cover. That this is another lens that we had discussed previously. So it's an interesting town. You know, I visit all these town centers, and I like to see what stores are still there, which ones shut down, and which stores had just opened up. And, you know, people want to follow their bliss, and they think they're going to start their own business, and most fail, some stick around. Some been there for years, some there for a couple of years. There's a cheesecake place, and it's been vacant for like over a year. They still got the guy's cheesecake sign up, which you'll see in the slideshow. So let's jump right into the slideshow and check it out, shall we? I just don't know what to think of 50mm f1.4s. You know, low light level, you want to use a fast shutter speed, and not a super high ISO, well, then you gotta use a 1.4. Are they night vision? Yes, they are night vision. Like this Tanny sign, I had trouble focusing on that. Look at the Sushi and Asian Grill looks sharp, but Tanny looks blurry. Well, there's some blooming there, I guess. Notice that the EV is at minus 1.65. Summer blends, I nailed the focus on summer blends. What can I say? But that blooming is part of the way the sign looks. All right, look at the jiu-jitsu and wrestling. Let's check that out. I nailed the focus on that, but everything else looked blurry. I don't get it. You know, it's just, this lens is like that. They're all like that. GLEN Rock Smoke Shop. The lights look blurry, but if you look at the GLEN Rock sign and the store hours are sharp. Now, if I had focused on those lights, everything else would have looked blurry. And here's down the street. All those lights look blurry. But if I look at the storefronts, you see they're sharp. See, like the club there? That looks sharp. But everything else sort of looks blurry. I don't get it. And here's another down the street. All the lights look blurry because they're overexposed. But everything else is reasonably sharp. So even at minus 1.6 EV, I'm still overexposing the highlights. Here's some lights that were wrapped around a pillar. I just flipped it 90 degrees to make it fit this format. Now here's a perfect example. I focused very carefully on this garland. Now check it out. You could see the individual needles of the garland, but the lights look blurry. They're blooming. What's up with that? I don't know. Starbucks coffee. This one came out reasonably evenly focused. Tarbucks, not Starbucks, but Tarbucks. Tar bucket coffee. Bank of America, this came out pretty reasonably sharp. Those bricks are pretty sharp. And here's the railroad station. The lights are blooming, and I focused on the bricks of that building. And I could see in the light view magnifying, if I focused on the lights so they look sharp, then everything else looked blurry. I think that's spherical aberration does that. Here's a perfect example. The branches look reasonably in focus, but look how aberrated all the lights are. I don't get it. Across the street lamps are blooming in that picture. The Christmas tree in the front is slightly blooming, but the back looks pretty good. Now here's this, I don't know if it's a townhouse or office buildings. I don't know what it is. these tree branches look pretty damn sharp, right? And if we look at upper, oh, look at that weird orb. So the Super TAKUMAR is a flare beast. The building looks relatively sharp. And here we go down the street again at f1.4. I don't know. Even the storefronts look a little blurry there. Although you see on the left there, look at how blurry all the wraparounds on the posts are. But the GLEN Road looked pretty sharp. Now here's at f2.8. Same street, same position. Look how sharper it looks at f2.8. Oh, those storefronts look beautiful. The lamp posts look beautiful. I mean, there's no aberrations or blooming. And this is close by, right? These are some posts there, and I got some, and it looks really, really good. So I went back to 1.4, and this is a sign. It was perpendicular and parallel to it. There's no bright lights. It came out pretty good. Mark's Cheesecake has been out of business for over a year, and his store's been empty. And that look came out really good. Rockin' the Grill and the Sweet Shop. Let's see what a close-up of this looks like. The grill looks pretty good. The signs look good, but the lights are blooming. Francisca's. Brick Oven. Glen Rock. Here's a 1.4. Here's just some carriage light. Came out pretty good looking. Not great, but pretty good looking. Here's another sign. Close up. Came out pretty good. I like it. Here's Sweet Berry Bowls at f1.4. This is a 1-to-1 crop. Here's at f2.8. You can see it sharpened up. The contrast looks better. No doubt about it. Now I did the opposite. Alpha Fit at f2.8. That's a reflection. That's how come it's backwards in the lower left. And here it is at f1.4. It's, you can tell the contrast is lower. It's not as sharp. Here's just some sign. He's got an extra eye because that's in the background. The Tasty Junction. Tasty Junction. There used to be something else. I think they changed the name. And that's at f2.8. Here's at f1.4. You can tell there is a difference, subtle as it may be. And of course, I went and, oh, look at these statues. I wish my girlfriend looked like that at f1.4. Here's a 1-to-1 at f1.4. Not too bad, not too shabby, recognizable. f2.8, what a difference that made. And all these lenses are like that. Look at that, f2.8, right? What can I say? Here's the guy. I had a shop teacher look like that. Here's the rock, Glen Rock. Well, this is the rock of Glen Rock at f1.4. Here's another slightly different view at f1.4. It's overcast, so even though the sun was coming up, everything still looked dark. These are somewhat cropped, but no close-up crops. There's a house down the street at f1.4. All right. Let's see, what's this? Here's f2.8, a wide shot. The other one was a 1-to-1 crop. So here's this 1-to-1 crop. Look at the difference between f1.4 and f2.8. Here the next serves us some artsy-fartsy things I did with that pillar that I rotated. Oh, and I'm a train spotter, and I have 2 train stations, and this train was coming by, and I sat in my car, and I did it out in my car, so the car was muffling the sound, so it isn't overwhelming.